This is going to be a quick and dirty way to get started with Create React Prototype. Nothing too in-depth, but just a basic guide to get the more visual learners started with the project. So first of all, you obviously need to install Create React Prototype globally. I'm not going to do that right now because it's not published to npm yet, so it'll just throw a 404 error. Then just create a new directory for your library and cd into it. I'll just open up code right now because the Create React Prototype CLI uses emojis and PowerShell really dislikes emojis or anything. Let's create a new terminal and just say create React Prototype in it. Since the project has not yet been published to npm, I'll also add the -d local parameter, which tells the CLI to install Create React Prototype as a local dependency instead of an npm dependency. You don't want to add that command because you want to make the life of your contributors easier, and this omitting this parameter allows them to not have the Create React Prototype installed globally. So let's do that. And we'll get our good old npm setup or npm init window. If you don't want that, you can also add the -y, capitalized Y, argument to Create React Prototype init, and you can skip that. But I'd advise you to walk through it, because if you read through this tip, fill it out properly, we'll read it and assume you entered correct data, because it'll generate some files like a readme, a changelog, a git ignore, and so on and so forth, and assume the data we entered here was valid. So let's call it my library version 1.0 demo project to test stuff. Don't name work projects like that, by the way. Entry test command. The test command will be generated by the CLI for us, so we can omit this one. Git repository, don't have that. Keywords, test, demo, React. And it's a serious project, by the way. MIT license also sounds good to me. I'll now take a few, well, seconds to minutes to set up the project. I'll just edit it out. Okay, the library finished installing. If we take a look, it has created several different folders and files. I'll not go over all of them, but the wiki of the project contains a nice and concise explanation of what all of these do. An important one would, for example, be your license. It already generated the MIT license for you, so that's one of the reasons why you want to have your initial npm init command filled out rather properly. So the most important folder is obviously going to be your src folder. It contains all of the files of your library. We already have 3 demo files generated. One would be the demo component, your index component, just with welcome to my library. A unit test using jest. The my library library has a name, has the original author. Feel free to change them and add new ones. And just the TypeScript definition files, because it's always nice to have a used library which has TypeScript definitions, even if you don't use TypeScript yourself. Makes your life a lot easier. So let's take a look at our source files, and let's see how we can actually get that running, or how we can look at it. We have several npm scripts we can use to do that. One would be to run build, and another one watch. Build creates a production build for your library, and watch creates a development build and also watches your library for further changes to enable things like live reloading. So let's run the watch command. Or actually, let's not run the watch command right now. I'll show you why it's important to run it. This would just create a build output in our dist folder, so there wouldn't be anything to look at yet. So I'm just kind of wondering why there's nothing in there. Oh, right, because I started the watch command, so it cleared it. Let's create a build again. Next, so now we want to have something how to look at our library, because all these commands do is just create a build output. To do that, we can either use our example project or our storybook. The example project is a Create React app, and the storybook is, as the name suggests, a storybook, which is missing one command right now, but if you use it, it will also have another script, a build script. So let's just get started with the Create React app, because that should be what's familiar to most people. And run the start script for this one. Start the development server, and let's get Chrome. And we have the good old Create React app basic interface with a few minor changes, like welcome to my library. And if we precisely look at that text, we can see that that's exactly what we had here in our index.js file, welcome to my library. So what we'd expect is we change something, it live reloads. No, it does not, because as previously stated, we need to have the watch command running. This is because our example project has the dist folder installed as a local dependency. So we are running the watch command and it did reload. Let's change something again just to verify it's actually changing my super awesome library. Perfect, it's just what we wanted. So what's this other thing besides the example? The other thing would be the storybook. Let us start up the storybook and then we'll take a look at this one. And port 9001 is already in use. Yes, that is true. Let me just quickly change it to another port. Package.json, let's change it to 9004. And open it up. And the storybook is a more concise way to actually explain or showcase your library. If we look at the actual port 9001 it was claiming was already in use, you can see that you can use it to quite powerfully demonstrate your libraries by actually having a JSX preview in there and just showcase each of your components in your library in isolation without having to write a larger app to surround it. So both have its places, and you actually probably want to write both, but while developing you typically want to use the storybook and just have the example as a demonstration of how to include your library in the greater scope of a real app. So the storybook will be primarily your development environment, while the example will be a showcase to your users. Look at that, if we look at this one, we have some minor stuff going on here with a clickable name and without it. It's just some basic stuff to get started. Alright, let's put this CLI to test and add a new component and see how smooth this one goes. Let's create a new component, call it time.js. We'll just add a really basic time display. We will import type React from React. Export class time. And this one is just going to accept a prop called date, which is a date object, and render our time in a nice humanly readable format. It is this prop state to locale time string. So it's not doing anything else. Let's go back into the example project. We can now import time from my library time. And let's go ahead and display that one in an H2. Say new date. And that should, generally speaking, work out just fine. No, it does not. To locale time string is that not the way to do it? Oh, I wrote data. That's obviously never a good idea. There we go. It is 9:09:19 p.m. Sounds about right. So this will be how to add a new component. Let's also quickly take a look at the linting abilities I mentioned earlier. Let's remove the export default, and it will complain time is defined but never used. So whenever you compile something, it may either be by a full bullet command or just while watching, the linter will check your file and yell loudly at you if there's anything it doesn't like. It's using the exact same linting rules. It's literally importing the same file used by the create_rect app. It's using the exact same definition file, so there is no discrepancy between the two projects. So let's take a look at how to write unit tests. You can just write in a new file called time.test.js, and let's take a look at how we make our class testable. We only have a really simple function, so let's export that one into a const format time. It's almost idiotically stupid, but again, this is just a quick introduction on how to get started with the CLI and not an in-depth React or JavaScript tutorial. So there's that. Now let's go into our test component and describe the test component. It can format a date. Let's bring our test component in. It's not a test component, it's a time component. Import time from time, but actually we want to bring in the format time function. So let's run it, format time, new date. I already have something prepared over here. We will pass in this one, and then we expect the result to strict equal this one. It's obviously not perfect to test it this way because, or test this way because it's using a locale time string. So if a user is using a different Node.js locale, they'll have a different test result, but just something basic. So let's run our unit tests again. And our test failed. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's precisely what I mentioned earlier. Node.js uses a different locale than my Chrome, so the build fails because it's getting a different build output. This was obviously intentional to show you what a failed test would look like, but you also get a really nice breakdown of what went wrong, what was expected, what happened instead, precise location in your code, stack trace, and so on and so forth. So that's how you write unit tests. Here we go. The time component can format a date after adjusting the unit test after it failed, but that's besides the point. So we can also write a TypeScript definition file. To make it easier for the people using our library. Well, actually use it. If we now look at the test function, it hints us format time, accept the date parameter. And no, since it's JavaScript, it doesn't alert us if we do anything different. But if our project would be a TypeScript-based project, it will actually say, hey, you can't do this format time once a date, and not a string. So that's rather nice. So let's write a storybook for this one. And have we actually integrated it into the example? Yes, we have. Let's write a new story for it. Then the storybook is still kind of work in progress, expected to change. If it does change, I'll make sure to do another video specifically about the new storybook. But for now, you can just add a new file. It's called a time.js. And in that one, you just import from the library, again, just like in the Create React app. Can we? No, okay. Hope we would have some nice auto-completion here. Let's just copy this. So, what you can do, you just write stories of, write the name of the component or whatever this headline should be, stories of time component, and then you can add an individual story. This would be with clickable name, without clickable name, and let's write time component for the current date. And it's complaining about a syntax error. Yes, it does have all right to do so, and we don't need the action. So if we look at this right now, I think the storybook isn't running anymore. No, it is. Oh, right. Here's the big keyword I wanted to alert you about. I just forgot it myself. You actually have to go ahead and manually require each file used in the storybook. That's really not nice at the moment. I'm looking into a way to solve that for you. But right now you'll have to go into your config directory, open the config.js, and add a require to every file you wish to use. And we're greeted with a nice error. It's good, I'm just trying to showcase of every possible error possible, by the way, just to show you what the debugging and development experience is. There we go, for the current date. So that makes it rather easy to debug stuff. It's also do for a fixed date or to test stuff. For debugging, hard to say which one is easier for debugging. It really depends on the use case. Let's use this fixed one I used earlier. For a fixed state, there we go. We can then also go ahead and build that. Let's just simulate as if this configuration would have existed right along. Can then build it. No, remove the wrong one. Obviously it's not using a port to build stuff. And then upload our generated dist folder, for example, to an FTP server and allow users to access our storybook without having to download our Git repository and do some manual compile stuff. So that's pretty much a bird's eye overview of this CLI as far as I'm concerned. We are even at 20 minutes right now, so it wasn't as short and concise as I had hoped for, but certainly shorter than my attempts before. So if there are any problems you're running into, feel free to open an issue on the GitHub repository. Fine, let's open it this way. Create React prototype, there we go. Feel free to open up an issue and inform me about your problem, make feature requests, submit bugs, and so on and so forth. I'm also open to doing more YouTube videos if you're more of a visual kind of learner. Also, contributions to the wiki would be appreciated. I think it's pretty decent at the current moment, but obviously everything can always be improved. So there's that. Enjoy the library.